Some people may not know what do they want to do in life. I wanted to become the best in my role, in my region, and then I wanted to compete with the best players and try my own skills against them. Everyone would tell you that we want to go towards, we want to be the best, but it's like about what you feel inside, kind of, you know? Like you may say it in front of camera, you may say it to the people, you may say it to the organization, but you may just lie, right? Maybe you will say it, but you don't really think about it. I was like good in League of Legends, you know, and then it was like so much for me about winning, you know. I was just sitting on my PC for straight 10 hours and I was just only about winning, and when I was losing I was like super upset, super mad, you know, at myself. I was like literally like so pissed, you know, so mad when I was losing. I had this opportunity to play some tournaments, like I was on LCS Lille. I was like not 18 yet, so to me like it was for the first time in my life I was on LAN event, and it was like so weird and didn't even took my gear with me. I thought that they are going to give me keyboards and mouse, right? So I just went there like without nothing, unprepared. And on the way I met those like players that were on the way to their games, and I met like those, back then it was like Diamond, like the superstars like Gambi, like the very best players. And the fact that I, like one day I may become like one of them, you know?
Jankos is chasing, he's lining the queue, as he is in the hole, doesn't get a kill for them though, but Overpower has finished off the AD carry.
Absolutely dream start, I think, for them. A 4-0, they probably would have never dreamed of. A 3-1 would probably have been above their expectations even.
They've been playing brilliant, they know exactly what to do in the games.
Jankos goes down, the ace could come through, Baron's available after this, and Rocket are running for it.
Back then it was like me, Svenskar and Shook, and we were like kind of the best. And I was really happy inside of myself that I'm just considered like one of the best players.
Jankos will pounce, and once again, it's another first blood for Rocket.
That is the 20th for Rocket.
I felt like the people didn't really believe that we can achieve that much with the same lineup. And we changed Selaver and Zazus. We took Woolite and we took Overpower top lane. And we thought that with those two changes we may like become the best team in Europe. And, the split started 1-1, like 2-2, you know, 3-3, 4-4, and then it's like lose, lose, lose.
Oh, Woolite trying to recall in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, he could be caught. It's going to get blown up. Freeze takes down Woolite. That's a power play right there for Copenhagen Wolves.
I'm kind of sorry for Zazus and Selaver that we like left them behind. We want to be the best and we change the players to achieve something, and in the end it didn't work out, so why just not try stick to the same lineup and just try with this lineup to actually be the best, right? I try to not think about it because it doesn't really matter. What matters is the what's now, right? We kind of need to show what we learn, and we need to show that we are not scared on stage, and we need to show that we deserve to be in the LCS event and just play our best. If we do like stay the same way like as it is now, if nothing will change, then I think we are like bottom 3 team. So I still believe in our players. I don't know, everyone is like high in solo queue, everyone is like trying his best, and in the scrims obviously it looks different, but yeah, we are just trying to work as a unit, and we're just trying to find this thing that will just help us and achieve what we want to achieve. We really wanted to like do something, and it just didn't work, but I guess that's how life goes, right? You just try something, it doesn't work, and you try again, or you just do something else. Yeah.
What a feature on Jankos here. And I mean, we've been following Rocket now since they got into the LCS. Jankos as a jungler, we know he has the potential to be one of the best junglers here in Europe, but as a team it's just not working for them. I mean, they're not living up to their expectations. We always hear how well they perform in scrims. Clearly there's something missing from scrims and then on stage. You know, it's a very different environment. But honestly, I think it's almost healthy for a team like Rocket to then realize it's not about top 3 at the moment. It's not about, you know, making worlds right now. We are a bottom team. we have some mistakes we need to fix, and all we want to do is just make playoffs. I think that's a healthy change for Rocket then, to then say, okay, that's how we look at it, and don't be so hard on yourself. Just work on whatever is missing, and try and see if you can make that top 6.
So we'll find out whether or not a change in mindset will help Rocket and maybe keep up some of the momentum from yesterday's win, because they did look very good. They're facing off against the Unicorns of Love in our next game. Let's take a quick look at the rosters, starting with Rocket. There's, of course, Steve in the top lane, Jankos, the man we just heard from, Nukeduck, Rals, Vanda, and Yamato Cannon. Let's take a look at their opponents for this particular game. It is the Unicorns of Love on the red side of the map with Chachi, Kickers, Power of Evil, Vardags, Hillisang, and Sheepy. And I want to step back and just talk about how good Jankos and Rocket looked yesterday. Jankos on the Gragas, he had a massive impact in the early game. Rocket were proactive. They moved around the map. They did things that we've not seen them do all split long.
But that's the thing about both Rocket and the Unicorns of Love. They are so inconsistent. They show up one game and we praise them and we say, this looks fantastic. Why don't they play like this every single time? And then the next day they go in and everything just falls apart completely. Jankos then doesn't get the same ganks going. Someone misplays in the laning phase. Or as a team, they make a bad call in the late game. I also want to see more, to Mr. Rales here. What can he do as the replacement for Woolite? Jankos talked about how they want to make the best team possible. Sometimes you got to make some changes. In this case here, they got Mr. Rales in the lineup. He had a good performance on Kalista yesterday, for sure. Should be more of a safe player, especially in the late game. So we have to see now if Rocket can keep up the play they showed yesterday.
And of course, it was a first pick Kalista for Rocket, who were also on the blue side.
And they can do it again.
Against the Copenhagen Wolves. We'll see if they get the option. So Morgana, Shen, Ryze taken off the table. Jace, Fizz, one more ban for UOL to prioritize.
I think Jace has been banned every single game against Nukeduck ever since the changes to him. We just saw what Fibrin can do on Jace. Now here for Unicorns of Love, they had to make a decision. Do we ban one of the tier 1 junglers and trade that for the Kalista first pick? In this case, they banned their way, so Sivir is open for Rocket. And it's a little bit of a no-brainer, honestly. Normally for the teams, when Kalista is banned away, and you can still get either Rek'Sai or Gragas, then it's fine. So now Rek'Sai is going to go over to Jankos if he wants it. Unicorn saying, you know what, we know you're going to take Sivir. We get the Alistar at least. So they're both trying to trade some power picks to each other. I still think getting the Sivir has a lot higher value than getting the Alistar, because there's still fantastic supports left in the pool where Sivir and Kalista kind of stand out as the 280 carries.
So for Rocket, they've got one of those two standout 80 carries. Yesterday they ran Echo in the top lane with Steve, when it was coupled with the Gragas from Jankos, and they got him ahead. And he stayed ahead. Steve had one of his best performances all split long.
And it's
interestingly,
open,
the Varus again, twice. Yesterday, Nukeduck was landing those piercing arrows one after the other, and it felt like Rocket were in control of the team composition.
We're just seeing how strong Poke is from the mid lane, from Jace, from Varus here, from Nukeduck. It's somewhat the same. I mean, you almost built the same as well. You wanted more mana, you want cooldown reduction, you want armor penetration, and then you have this fantastic mid-game spike where you do so much damage from your piercing arrows. So that's going to be the same kind of play here from Nukeduck, and by taking away Sivir, you add in another mobility, or you add in some mobility for the Varus in case he wants to disengage. Echo as well is one of these champions where it's super difficult for you to run at him, because you always got to be afraid of where his shadow is. Also the fact he has so many slows built in, he can kite pretty effectively. And then if you overextend, he just jumps back into you, and like he pops a target in the back if it is Steve playing it in the top lane. Rek'Sai is still open for Jankos if he wants that one.
Well, Deficia, Unicorns of Love went with a 2-carry composition yesterday. Syndra mid and Jinx 80 carry. They were relying on keeping Vardags up and alive against the Giants. And unfortunately, it was Power of Evil that got caught out several times against Giants and was unable to do that. They're doing the same again. There's a lot of damage and mobility from Rocket already.
Rocket can go Janna though, and that's going to very, very heavily disengage against what Unicorns has put together here. Bard could even work for Vanda, even though he had a poor performance on it in the last week. I really like the Janna to lock it in though, because it's full focus on Kite back and Poke from Nukeduck. And Unicorns of Love, with their build together here, is going to rely a lot on either having a flash ready for like the Body Slam flash or the flash engage from a Maokai, or of course Righteous Glory, but that's where Janna can really disengage the whole thing. And that should buy enough time to Rocket then to pop that Sivir ulti and kite back And then, as we just mentioned before, Unicorns have to be concerned about the fact that this Echo is going to be with the team as well. And you cannot overextend, because then suddenly your backline is going to drop. Vardax himself, if Visichachi, if Hillsang is playing aggressive, trying to dive in on the backline, Vardax is left on his own in the back. Not going to be Poppy. Maokai is here for the top lane.
We did see a brief hover on the Cogmore, so maybe a poke into poke if Unicorns want to run that. Power of Evil and Unicorns, honestly, I kind of feel like they're stagnating a little bit. We're seeing adaptations from teams all across in terms of picks and bans and playstyle. Unicorns, however, are going to get another mid to late game mage in the middle, and it's Cassio.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I like the pick itself. The problem is, she's a mage that relies on the fact that she can always get to a target and sit there and then spam her abilities. Fairly low range, but that's going to be a problem against a comp with a Varus, because it's very long range focused. Our Varus has to slow as well to stop her moving around. The laning phase as well is very much a skill matchup where if you get to land your abilities on the Cassiopeia, like if you get a one-on-one trade, it's in favor of you, but Varus can always sit really far back, and Poke can always just try and clear the waves and then try and avoid fighting you. And once you hit level 6, he has quite a lot of damage. If you start landing some of those arrows here, suddenly you might get an all-in potential, an all-in situation. The problem for me is just Unicorns Aloft is so reliant on the fact they get a proper engage, and then you get Vardax and Pavil in a position to sit there and have enough time to deal the damage. Because it's not quick burst. No, it's, you know, over time, 5-6 seconds, and then you will melt targets, for sure. But that requires Rocket then to fall behind and like get it open to flanks, or Vander to misplay on this Janna here and not disengage the fight at first. Remember the ulti from Nuke Dog. If you're grouped up moving in towards him, multiple guys are going to be stunned, and then Echo jumps into you.
So we'll see if Steve can find his opportunities and whether or not Power of Evil and Vardags can stick to Roccat for long enough. We heard a very heartbreaking story from Yankos as he was talking about Rockat's struggles and troubles all year long. A confident win yesterday may be what Roccat need to give themselves their first 2-0 week in summer.
And I really like the fact as well that Steve has picked up some new champions. He played Maokai in the start. He was like, yeah, you know, just get on that tank. You can die a few times. You can still be useful. Now, more confidence from him. We see Yankos gank the top lane quite often, you know, play around Steve on this Echo, and it opens up for these double AD carry compositions because you have that AP damage from the top lane. Mr. Kikis himself on the Gragas, 100% win rate, that's great.
3 games played, 3 victories, and Yankos had the Gragas yesterday, so Kikis has also denied that from his opponent. Vander gonna get pulverized up. Power of Evil is gonna put down that poison and keep popping it out, and Noxian Blast rather. And Vander's going to be able to escape. Nothing really gained or lost here from either team.
And let's look a little bit more at Unicorns of Love and the comp here. It's not as bad as I made it sound in Champ Select. It's by no means bad in that sense. I mean, they have fantastic damage output from the 2 carries, Power View and Vardax. Double tank setup. It's a little bit what we saw a lot of in Spring Split. Even the Alistar providing a massive front line here. It's just become so much harder to play with all this poke coming into play. With the likes of Echo, who can dive that backline very effectively and still jump back to his own ulti. So even if you do focus him down, you need to like stun lock him and kill him in run rotation. Unicorns, though, if they do get a strong laning phase, which you can do with the likes of Cassiopeia in the mid lane, that's what you can use to snowball. Because what we have seen from them is if Power of Evil is winning that mid lane, Kik suddenly plays very aggressive. He finds the enemy jungler. He looks for the one-on-one, the 2v2 fights, where he knows Power of Evil can back him up. And that's a big advantage for Unicorns of Love in the early game. But it requires them to use it. And if Nukedog just gets a farm lane for himself, that's going to neutralize. And then you wait for the mid game if you're Rocket instead.
Well, for both Nukedog and Power of Evil, it's going to be seeing who can handle their lanes, who can get ahead, because both mid laners have struggled a little this summer. Nukedog found a fantastic Varus game yesterday, and taking a look at Power of Evil, already 35 stacks on that Cassiopeia passive. The observers buzzed me and said all the damage onto Vander earlier, got 23 stacks.
What a beast, man.
What a game changer. Closer to max. So we do take a look at the sort of farm lane. If Power of Evil can get close to Nukedog with Twin Fang, as has been ranked up, will put a lot of hurt on. And for Steve up top, into Chachi's Maokai, a lot of aggressive trading in favor of Steve, and we'll see whether or not Chachi can sustain through that massive.
Chachi can definitely set up ganks very effectively on this Echo here, but just to talk a bit more about the mid lane matchup. I mentioned before here how Cassiopeia should have the pressure at least in the lane when it comes to early trading. If you do manage to connect the poison and you get that one-on-one fight, it is in favor of Power of Evil. But the long range here for Nukedog and the fact he can use his E, the slow, to stop it from going aggressive. Let's see Kikis. He's going to find Jankos here.
Oh, Kikis is going to be in so much trouble. Down to 200 hit points. Jankos, he's going to go over with the Tunnel Prey Seeker, not even needed. First blood from the man with the feels video, and that's going to be a great start.
And Jankos simply skipping his own blue buff. Then he invades in and he finds Kikis on the second buff. Nukedog had done a very good job at pushing his own lane here in the mid lane. So if Power of Evil left the lane to go help Kikis, he would have lost a lot of farm in case Nukedog got to push it back into the tower, and he could move with him over there. So nice early start from Rocket, very clearly planned, with the fact that Nukedog is pushing his lane and Jankos skipping his own blue buff to then get faster into that red buff and finding Kikis. So great start here from Rocket.
Definitely is. Rocket in their standard lanes, as well as Unicorns of Love, tend to go even at 10 minutes. It's in terms of gold value. However, Rocket tend to fall behind as they get closer to 20 minutes. We'll see whether or not Jankos' early first blood will be able to help out, and that's an early blue buff onto Nukedog.
It's going to help
him out.
Yeah, it's going to help Nukedog a lot keep the distance here to Power of Evil and just keep clearing the waves. And as I said before, the Hail of Arrows here to stop Power of Evil from going aggressive. Just slow him down. He won't get in range then. And you can just keep the lane fairly safe then for Nukedog. Obviously wants to get towards the tier as early as possible. Potentially even upgrading it straight away. But it requires quite a lot of gold on your first back.
30 CS at the moment. We did see the back from Power of Evil. He's already got that tier. Luckily for Rocket, both mid laners are tier focused, so need some time to scale. And we see Nukedog backing away as he shoved that lane in. So he's got the blue buff to tick away. We also see he's opted for flash
You can just
heal.
go tier double longsword and then you go brutalizer early with the tier before you upgrade it. Perfectly fine. That is the normal route because you don't tend to have enough gold to straight away upgrade your tier in the first back unless you've been farming for a long time. This will give him a little bit more lane pressure as well. Tier very important for both of them, obviously, as you just highlighted yourself, Trevor, before. But important with that good start for Jankos. It means suddenly he can play a little bit more aggressive in terms of his warding. And you can see how Rocket has already taken over the river on the bot lane side. So 4 members on the bottom side. And now they have quite a lot of security. As I mentioned. Sorry.
I was just saying, was that security actually adds to anything. Because for Rocket at least, they got the early advantage. They seem to be doing well. Every time we look at the mini-map, you can see Steve sort of trading with Chachi. Neither of those top laners have backed yet. Chachi's going to be the first one to get to 6, so slow and steady laning phase as far as the lanes are concerned. It's only the jungle with the action.
Look at the setup of the lane though here. The waves are pushing down towards Vishachachi, so Steve is now in this very annoying situation where you have to overextend to play it out, and that's why Unicorns can gank him.
So Kikis is coming in, but Steve is going to chrono break the body slam. And the crowd definitely in support. Cannon minion, I think, was secured there by Steve, as Jankos is now coming for a reply gank. Steve, no ulti, and Kikis is 1.5 miles away. I don't know if anything's going to come of this one. Flash is still up for Chachi if it's needed.
Yeah, might just try and burn the flash away from Chachi and nothing else. So little mana on Steve. But if Chachi goes aggressive here, it can go very wrong for him.
Tension is palpable.
I think the lane's going to push down. They're going in now.
Wow, there's the chilling smite. Insta-flash from Vishachachi. Successful gank from Jankos. So first blood secured and a flash. And all Steve needed to do to keep alive was use his ultimate.
Really like the start for Jankos. First the invade in, timed it well with Nukedog. He knows his bottom lane is going to win on his own and keep pushing into the tower. Or at least have the pressure in the lane with the Sivir Janna. So he doesn't have to gank for them. Not a whole lot of value in ganking for that Janna lane anyway. Very utility focused. So instead, early vision, find the enemy jungler, and then try and get this echo ahead is very good start from Jankos in the lanes he's deciding to go to. Force that flash, let's see if they can use it. This one is good for Unicorns though. Clear out these pink wards.
So fairly early taken out, to be honest. Illisan grabbed those Moby boots. We see Vardax finally backing after he's pushed the wave out. BF sword for Ralls. Should be BF sword for Vardax and some pots. wants to grab a ward or a long sword. First few items starting to trickle in. Rocket are approaching 10 minutes on the clock with a very small advantage. And Hylissang, he's spending a lot of time in this bush. I mean, there's no Vardex to defend in the bottom lane. There's no reason to be anywhere else.
Right. We have seen Kikis and Hylissang roam together quite a lot in the last few weeks. Great synergy in that sense. Very good at setting up ganks. Chachi's going to find Jankos, but for now he's alone.
Yeah, Power of Evil was the first to roam. I think he's come up through the jungle. And Nukeduck was able to walk up through the river, so slightly quicker pathing and nothing gained.
Problem is for Hylissang here, if he roams in this game, the Sivir Jan is going to push into tower over and over and over and take it down a lot faster than if he was there to try and at least help Vardex get some CS. So if the roam doesn't pay off for Hylissang, like in this case here where he was spotted all the way and he wasn't paired up with his jungler or anything, it just ends up being fairly wasted and gives a lot of time for Rylers and Vander then to get pressure because they want to take down this bot lane tower. Then what you can do is you can swap the top lane where there sits a Maokai who doesn't have the proper wave clear to stop the Sivir from taking that tower. Then you rotate to mid lane with Cassiopeia where it's the same deal. There's no like instant wave clear from Unicorns of Love. So by having poke from Nukeduck, he's fantastic wave clear itself. Same goes for Echo, same goes for Sivir. Rocket can really control the lanes very, very effectively. And Unicorn's only way to respond is by fighting. Because they can't sit there and try and like poke them out or clear the waves in time, because then Rocket will always get damage on the towers and always land poke from Nukeduck. So Unicorns have to be able to fight to win this game.
Well, Power of Evil wants to keep himself healthy enough to fight. Picked up that Hextech Revolver, as well as the Tear. Now Steve does have Flash and Chrono Break. He's going to phase dive out, jump back in. Here comes the Parallel Convergence. Going to get the stun and a shield. Kikis is going to knock Steve away. Steve's holding on to that Flash, knows he's going to get taken out. Relatively easy gank. That was the easy gank setup you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, that's what you can do with this Maokai so effectively against melee champions. If they just move close, obviously you just snare them. Jankos has to make a play on the opposite side of the map, especially because Steve bought so much time by like dancing around, and also Unicorn's going for the blue buff. We need to see either Dragon being taken by Jankos, or you just go straight down to this bottom lane and pressure that tower with the rest of the team. Going for the Dragon.
Sorry, Dragon instead. Jankos got first blood. Jankos gets first Dragon. And we are now 11 minutes into the game. And this thing actually starts this trade out. We see a two-man knockup from the Howling Gale. So that was Dragon secured as we blink back bottom. Vardex and Hylissang did get away. I don't know if this Flame Chomp is connected. I expect it probably is.
Rocket doing a very good job forcing Hylissang to stay in this bottom lane. Don't allow him to roam anywhere. You mentioned how Power of Evil wants to keep himself healthy. Got that early sustain. It's going to delay his core build quite a lot. And it's once again relying on him being able to get off these Twin Fangs here, to keep landing his spells to get enough healing from it. He's obviously doing it because he's against a poke. But it's about if Rocket can keep the distance, then Power of Evil will never really get to do a whole lot. If Unicorns get the chance though, to start the fight, TP in from the Maokai, Alistar flank potentially, flash in, get the talisman as we can see from Hylissang. That's where we might see Power of Evil do a lot of damage, and that's how Unicorns can still win the fights, of course.
Yeah, talking about Unicorns, you know, this team composition, it sort of harkens back to the spring split, where it's an older style of team comp. Yesterday, that Syndra mid with Jinx. Again, sort of an old school style of team comp with only 2 damage threats. We'll see whether or not it can work out today. It didn't yesterday. That vintage team composition, not really executed well enough. And I don't know, I just kind of feel like it's not a good sign, because you feel like every other team's growing, right? You feel like Fnatic are playing different styles. Rocket completely adjusted their picks and bans. Gambit as well, you know, mixing things up. It kind of feels like the experimental teams that are broadening their playstyle in champion pools are more successful in summer.
Yeah, I agree on that 100%. It's really about the fact that can you keep adapting to all these changes here. Small buffs comes left and right. Jay's got a massive buff, and then so you have to adapt to that one. Jankos is in the top lane. There's a new flash though for Chachi.
Chachi's gonna get knocked up. Can he get away? Vengeful Maelstrom is preventing a lot of that damage. Chrono Break gets close. They're not close enough to get the damage down, and Hylissang, his football boots, is gonna make his way all the way up top and no kill yet.
I don't really understand that gank too much from Jankos. Chachi had the flash ready. He was in a fairly safe position as well. Instead, if you are Jankos now, I mean, put your focus around this mid lane instead where Nuke Dog is a bit in trouble. You can go in and gank Hylissang or Power Evil, not gank Hylissang. He's ganking Nuke Dog instead.
So Nuke Dog out of mana on level 10. That's an exhaust onto Power of Evil. Nuke Dog already flashed away. Teleports come out from Steve, but he's on low hit points. Time Winder's not going to connect, and that may be a small misuse of resources.
Yeah, a few misplays from Rocket here. The last minute, TP used from Steve, obviously to try and make Unicorns back away, but Vander was already there, and he might die now.
Well, Hylissang's looking to score. He has caught Vander out. Vander with a quick channel and cancel on Monsoon. Flashes away from the belly, and he's going to stay alive. The Mega Death Rocket is not a Death Rocket at all. And the knockup from Jankos saves Vander a second time.
Look at their mid lane.
Don't get that many chances. So, Rocket got a tower down bottom. They use teleport middle, and Power of Evil will even the tower in middle.
And this is the thing, the only lane that was directly losing for Rocket was that mid lane. Wasn't in terms of farm, but more the fact that Power of Evil could keep pushing it down, and then we saw Kikis come in there. We saw Hylissang try and roam into that mid lane as well. Jankos wasn't there to help. Vander tried, but it wasn't enough. Steve even teleported in. A bit misused, honestly, for him. But they got the bot lane tower. Push out this wave now with Mr. Rales, then swap him over to the top side or the mid. And either group up with Nuke Dog for that mid tower or just push in the top lane with your Janus Sivir. And try and snowball the game a little bit. You don't want this Cassiopeia to sit and scale. You don't want the Jinx to scale up. You want to punish Unicorns of Love for having no instant hard wave clear. And put them in a situation where if they don't engage onto you, they will lose the tower. They will be forced back in base. And they might have to take some fights they didn't want to in the first place. And you can then control the pace. You have to ward on the flanks.
Yeah, and there's two things to talk about those flanks and the lack of wave clear. When Rocket played Echo yesterday, Steve was split pushing. Now we'll get to that in a second.
Setup.
He's gone in. We do see Mr. Riles is caught out. Those Chompers are now down. Spell Shield's up, and Riles is going to flash away from the zap. Mega Death Rocket is available, but on the hunt, and Flash is going to be used. Now Chachi points, he clicks. Vander's got caught out. We see the slow onto Mr. Riles. They're going for the dive.
Whoa.
The Death Rocket gets knocked away, but Vardak still secures the kill. Kikis was helping. It almost didn't work out. Kill number 2 to UOL.
That's a very nice start, though, from Hylissang and the bot lane here for Unicorns. Rales just wanted to push up this wave here and then probably leave it. Unicorns got the fight. They will lose the top tower for it. If Rocket can defend the bot lane, it's okay. And they got 2 towers down now. We can start seeing the grouping happening. Cooldown reduction coming for Nuke Dog. Unicorns are love, though. Can they get the fight? No TP for Visichachi. That's going to be huge. No talisman yet for Hylissang either.
So yesterday, the Unicorns could not get the fights. Krug secured for Steve. And Giants AP Cogmore was given time to scale.
Right.
Nuke Duck's AD Varus is 16 minutes in. He's even on farm despite being down a tower. And he's in a pretty good position. So Nuke Duck is going to connect to the Chains of Corruption. Piercing Arrow comes out. Here comes Jankos. Going to decide to back away. And that may allow some damage onto the mid tower from UOL.
Yeah, and that's the poke that's going to happen all game long here. He doesn't even have the last whisper yet. And once you get more cooldown reduction, it's going to be even more annoying for Power Evil to deal with when he wants to sit there and try and sustain back on these minions or clear the waves. Another problem for Unicorns yesterday was the fact they couldn't split push. Had a Shen. Let's see what happens to Nuke Dog.
Nuke Duck's being caught out, and Jankos is knocked up as well. Nuke Duck is nuked by the Unicorns of Love. Kikis with a great engage. Vander trying to save lives with that Monsoon, and you can see Mr. Rolls. He's split up, trying to get Kikis and Hylissang. We do see no flash available, and he's going to get chunked down. Unicorns grab 2 kills and a great engage from Kikis.
Yeah, the fact that Unicorns can keep getting the fights here are so important for them to get the kills. Rocket, they walked down the river. They thought they were safe because Power Evil was back in base. I mean, there's no way Unicorns is going to jump us. So Nuke Dog gets caught out. Pokecomp never gets to sit there and deal any damage. And Unicorns, once again, they get a good fight. The kills are going to be so important. Because if they get to the point where they can't engage properly or where they can't win the fight, well, then there's nothing you can do. But if you are against a poke composition that falls behind, then suddenly Devourers is not going to do anything if Maokai just sits on it every single fight.
0-0-4 for Visichachi's Maokai. Yesterday his Shen was bullied around
Yeah, and that was one of the problems.
Shyvana really, really hard.
That was such a big problem for Unicorns in terms of how to close the game, because they could never rely on the side lanes with the fact that Shyvana was destroying Chachi on the Shen here. That was banned away in this game, the Shen itself. But we still have the same situation where Chachi's on a big tank who can't deal with the Echo in the late game in the split push, so that is in favor of Rocket. But what has worked so far for Unicorns is they've got chances to teleport in. They've had good vision control. Look at the wards on the minimap here around the dragon. And they've been using them to catch out Rocket and not allow them to group.
Rocket, on the other hand, though, they have been pushing towers. So despite giving up kills, they've got a lot of damage on multiple objectives. I mean, Steve has just been left uncontested. This Power of Evil's going to get zoned away. That tower's going to drop, I feel. It will. Steve with a very good play. Unicorns, can they reply down bottom? It looks like they can. And they do within a few seconds. So inner turret for outer turret. And top half of the map is becoming more exposed for the Unicorns of Love.
And also the fact now that Rocket can decide to group. We always see them try and push out these side lanes, and they're like, okay, now we start grouping, but then someone overextends and Unicorns get the engage, kills them, and then everything resets to Rocket and delays it just a little bit. But the fact that Steve got 2 towers top is great for them. Nuke Dog ramping up as well. Want to see Rocket now start grouping together. Mid lane is going to be the next objective for them. Just have, obviously, Steve in the side lane, so like the 1-4 setup. You can even put Jankers in the other one if you want, just to have a bit more global pressure, but you can also just slow push that lane, which I prefer normally.
Well, teleport advantage is about to run out. Chachi's going to have his cooldown available in a minute or two. And with the amount of pressure on the side lanes, we've seen teams like Fnatic go for cheeky Barons. With the Cassiopeia Jinx, Unicorns could set that one up. Let's see how they put pressure on this top tower, though. Rocket a little late to defend.
Yeah, we can really see how much time this is buying Unicorns of Love. The fact they got these picks here on Rocket, the Rocket misplayed that mid game, has given Unicorns of Love so much time to push in towers themselves and even it out. Chachi just needs to stand and play very defensive down this bottom lane here. Don't try and go for any trades with the Echo. And instead, Vardax has been able to move around the map, get towers. Kikis, though, he might be caught out.
So Nukejack's going to fire that piercing arrow. Chain of Corruption should interrupt that body slam. And Kikis fail flashes! He finds the wall! Teleport's coming out from Steve. Steve wants to find Power of Evil, and he does!
Oh, wow.
Phase Tive and Time Winder, and there's 2 kills on the board. Rocket, how ballsy are you? Baron is available. It spawned 30 seconds ago. Steve is about to find Vardax. He gets knocked up by the Howling Gale as Hylissang is dropped on the back line. We looked at the Baron stats. Rocket find 4 kills. Chachi's alone in the bottom lane, and Rocket say, yes, please. We'll take a faster Baron than Fnatic.
And a very, very strange call for Unicorns. Didn't seem to be on the same page. Half the members were about to back away after they got that tower. Kikis then stayed in near the blue buff. Great play from Rocket to catch him out. TP in from Steve instantly. Almost one-shot Power of Evil. Mid tower goes down. What a great play from Rocket here. Completely punishing Unicorns of Love for being out of position.
And it's so funny because a few seconds ago you were just saying how Rocket were punished for being out of position.
But look at this here. Kikis is staying in here on his own. Vardax had already backed away from his tower. Power Weaver was about to move away himself. And then suddenly, Kikis caught behind. He tried to flash behind Jankers, then body slam over. But Jankers just stayed so close to the wall. Passive from Steve destroys Power Weaver here. Fight gets cleaned up. 4 guys dies. Baron goes over to Rocket. You have a siege comp with the Baron at 21 minutes. That might just be it. If Rocket can use that to snowball into a few more towers, they're going to get such a massive goal lead that Unicorns might never find a chance to then engage and win a fight.
Now that is the key. If Rocket can use Baron. Fnatic got an early Baron in the previous match, and they got initiated on and lost all of that pushing power. I don't quite see the same happening again. That AoE Tibbers isn't there. However, Hylissang does have flash, does have pulverize. So let's see, Rocket, 4,000 gold, roughly ahead. And they've got all that wave clear. There you go. Earliest Baron in
Just had the one before.
The record
Fnatic.
is just broken. Today is a record-breaking day, Deficio. Longest win streak, earliest Baron.
Prettiest casters. I mean, there's so many good records.
I know, it's so good to have Stress and Crepa sitting on the analyst desk. So back into this game, though. Nukeduck with that BF sword, last Whisper, man immune, he's already poking a lot. Mr. Ralls knows he doesn't have to build wave clear, so going for the maximum damage output. And there's that side lane pressure you were talking about. Jankos down bottom, Steve up top, and plenty of Baron minions to play with.
Now when you have that Baron, of course you put Jankos down in the side lane. So 3 waves being buffed up. Fantastic poke in the mid lane. Let's see if Unicorns have any chance of starting a fight. We need to get home guards on Visichachi very, very fast. So have another wave for Unicorns starting there. Just teleporting in straight away though.
Sang has already thrown down Unbreakable Will. We see that Super Mega Death Rocket go wide. Another missed Chains of Corruption. No one's surprised by that. Steve is going to phase dive onto Power of Evil. One of the damage threats is down, and now Vardax is left without any peel or protection. Vardax gets dropped as a third member of UOL drops. Chachi forced to run away with the roots between his legs, and Rocket now set their sights on an inhibitor. They've used Baron super effectively.
And we really just get to see how hard it is for Unicorns to take the fights here. As soon as you just fall a little bit behind, you try and engage him with teleports, maybe a guy flashing in on this Alistar here. Hylissang instantly popped his ulti, but the disengage Rocket can do. This time wasn't even the ulti from Vander, just flashing out, then Sibba ulti. That's enough then to disengage it first, and then Jinx and the Cassiopeia never gets in range to really deal proper damage. And Rocket just takes down the tanks here.
Well, maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into this, but that instant recall after the inhibitor falls, I think it shows very clear decision-making and shot calling from Rocket's side. Inhibitor, instant back.
It is one of the easier calls to make.
Of course. But it's something they've not done for the rest of their games. Rocket yesterday were decisive, and I felt like they were making clearer calls. Today, similar vein. They saw Unicorns in a poor position, and they punish it. There was little hesitation. Baron instantly, within half of Baron's cooldown, they'd already secured inhibitor. So
yeah,
I just think very, very good improvement.
The last 5 minutes have been great for Rocket. Steve as well, clearly getting more and more confident on stage, playing the carries. He's teleported before when he got that Baron instantly in there. Instantly just goes straight for Power Evil and kills him. So great plays all around. Well, a few misplays in the mid game for Rocket that cost them quite a few kills, gave Unicorns a Love a chance. Not a chance, but put Unicorns a Love in the lead. But then we saw that play around the Baron itself, and that's really just snowballed Rocket from there. The last 5 minutes have been near perfect for them.
So Rocket gonna now siege down this bottom lane. Baron has worn off, but they don't need it. Save an 8,000 gold lead, and we did actually just catch a glimpse there of Nukeduck. He stole that blue buff a moment ago. All that dragon was just secured. Nukeduck, 1, 1, and 6. So much damage to play with. And all of that advantage that Chachi had sort of built up and earned on that 0-0-4 has now been nullified.
Completely, yeah. And now he can't stand toe-to-toe with Steve anymore, so there's gonna be that split pushing threat all the time. Unicorns have to work 5 together. And then they need the correct tools. Again, the flashes are so key for them to start the fights, unless Rocket is mispositioning. Also that home guard, potentially from Chachi later, but there's no teleport.
Responding.
Yeah, nobody can because there's no teleport. If they move away, well, what are they going to do? Then the 4 guys down the bottom is just going to get poked out and lose the tower. So, like, right now, there's just no good play until the summoners are ready again for Unicorns. And that's where they can try and respond back. Obviously, they should have had someone up here to defend that inhibitor turret, but that's about it. They were lost this bot lane tower then as well.
2 more towers. Unicorns of Love. This is a team that, yes, they went 9-9 in the spring split, but they were a rookie team. You were expecting them to really test the limits of their play. And after placing second in the playoffs, there was a lot of expectation on UOL coming into summer. Could they grow? Could they get better? Could they prove themselves to be a more stable team? You can be the best BO5 team in the world, but if you can't make it to the BO5 stage of the tournament, you never get a chance to shine.
That's true, but we have to remember Unicorns are still in a playoff position. They have got enough wins to sit in the top 6, and that is gonna be the key thing for them. Just make top 6 for now. You have a lot of points towards Worlds because you got second place, 70 points I believe it is. You just need to secure enough to at least make the gauntlet, and that should be secured by the fact you make top 6 and get to the playoffs in the first place. So that's what they're gonna play for again. You said it yourself, they were 9-9 before. So yeah, best out of 1 has never really been the thing for Unicorns above.
No, definitely not. And of course, you know, talking about Worlds, three ways to qualify. Win Summer Split, have the most championship points, or win the regional qualifier. The Unicorns, they made it to finals in spring. They do have themselves a healthy amount of championship points, but they've got to contest with H2K and Origin this time around. In spring, it was SK Gaming, but SK faltered towards the latter stages of the spring split.
And that's interesting how some of the teams Unicorns are fighting against now are teams who didn't get any points. Giants, 0 points. Origin just got into the LCS, 0 points. They're currently above Unicorns of Love in the standings. When it comes to championship points, they're very far behind. It gives a bit more
drama.
Drama for sure.
To the rest of the league, and we'll see who's qualifying. Vardax gets just chunked. His HP bar pierced by the arrow of Nuketux Varos.
So all flashes ready.
All right, let's see if it's going to help Unicorns, because they're still 10,000 gold down. We've got super minions to contest with, but I think that inhibitor will be respawning very, very soon. As we do see, Baron has been started. Teleport available for Chachi. Power of Evil's nowhere near, so this will be a 3v4, 4v5 at best. Teleport available for Steve as well. Baron's going down. Can it get stolen away? Flash comes in. It's secured by an auto attack from Rals. They're going to get a kill onto Kikis and flashes over the wall. Steve teleported in from behind. This could be the very final fight. A flash over the chompers as Jankos is trying to chomp down Vardax. Vardax, he can't kite and fight enough because Steve's phase dive phases him out of the map. Rocket get 2 kills, another Baron. They've got 2 inhibitors to take down, and only Power of Evil to get through between Rocket's first 2-0 week in summer.
Looking very, very strong this week for themselves. Jankos in that feature, talking about how they had to change the mentality, no longer think they were top 3 teams, no. Rather look towards the bottom of the standings, say we're fighting towards relegation. In this case, obviously, Rocket is fighting to make playoffs, and they're going in again.
Well, Chachi gets stunned by the convergence. We're not even 30 minutes onto the clock, and Rocket have got themselves 2 Barons, looking to secure another inhibitor, and look at that damage. I don't often use this phrase from our oceanic buddies, but that damage really is disgusting. Mr. Rawls is going to spell shield the body slam, and we do see the petrifying gaze from Unicorns of Love, but it's their chances, I feel, are petrified. Let me take that back. They've got 2 kills onto both Nukeduck and Steve. Mr. Rawls is still very healthy, and Jankos is tanking for days. Rocket overstep their bounds. Lose 3, but they've got 2 inhibitors.
But this is what we talked about. This is how Unicorns can get on to Rocket and then open up for Power of Evil and Vardax, give them the ability to deal damage. I mean, flash in from Chachi, flash in from Kikis, knock a squishy target back, and then Unicorns can win the fight. The problem is, again, they're just relying so much on these summoner spells. Used 4 of them in this one, the 4 flashes. Won the fight, can take a dragon for it as well. But this is what they wanted to do from the start. They were in a good position, honestly. They had gotten some early picks on Rocket, but they were mispositioning. Then we had that Baron play. Everything went wrong. Clearly, Unicorns were not on the same page. That fight was very important for them, though, and their chance in this game.
Can Unicorns defend 2 waves of super minions? Rocket seem to be grouping themselves towards this bottom half of the map. It is the logical objective. 2 dragons apiece. But for UOL, the furthest they've gone into Rocket's territory was that outer line of turrets, and then the jungle. And since then, Unicorns have been way in retreat. Keep in mind, Baron is up for at least another 30 or so seconds. I think it should time before Rocket gets to that inhibitor turret. We'll see how effectively Unicorns can deal, because they have to defend so many super minions. Keep your eyes on that minimap every time.
So tough for them to do anything. They got home guards now for Chachi. We talked about it quite a few times. And now it's ready there. A few wards behind Rocket. You might be able to notice the one just down here, the lane near the pink ward as well. Well, could be an option for Chachi, because they might have to be in this, or Unicorns might find themselves in a situation where you just gotta go for the engage. I mean, you can't sit and defend 3 lanes.
And you just saw how effective Power of Evil is able to sustain off those minions. The Twin Fang Will of the Ancients is keeping him healthy. And Nukeduck's piercing arrows, relatively lengthy cooldown. So super minions on the Nexus turret. Once somebody from UOL peels back, Unicorns, they're caught out. Chain of Corruption catches onto Power of Evil. Now we see the parallel convergence coming down. Hylissang's Unbreakable Will is going to get broken. Flame Chomper splitting up Rockat's engage, and UOL backing away. Super minions are still bashing down that Nexus turret. Minion wave is cleared out. A lot of ultimates used. Rocket come away with another objective. Those minions continue to push. Someone from UOL has to go to deal with the keep in
They have
mind.
to go in for the engage here. Chachi's sitting in base. Let's see if they can do anything. He's coming in with the home guard.
There is still a petrifying gaze for Power of Evil, but there's no flash to combo it. Tower is being dropped now as Unicorns doing their best to survive. Here's Chachi. Vengeful Maelstrom is on. He's trying to get in. Hylissang gets both Steve and nuked up, but there's no follow-up. Chrono Break comes backwards for Steve as Chachi is being focused down. Look at Power of Evil and Vardax. They can't get any real damage down. Chachi just gets chopped down as Steve jumps in on the convergence. Super minions are battling away under the turrets. The last turret on the Nexus. Rocket playing this one safe. There is a Void Rush available for Jankos. He can rejoin after spending some money and healing up.
Just about staying here for Rocket. You still got those super minions, Unicorns. Only 4 members to defend, to just stay around, get that last tower, open up everything. Rocket looking strong.
Well, Unicorns of Love trying to defend the Alamo, and it's not working out this time around. Vardax is stunned, and he is taken out by Rocket. Steve dives onto Power of Evil. Power of Evil had his flash, but needed to run away. That Petrifying Gaze still not used. Rocket will pick up their first undefeated week in summer. You can see just how happy Jankos is. Rocket earned both of their victories this week.
100%. Great play from Rocket here. As soon as they get the leads, they know what to do, how to push it out. And we kept talking about, you know, in Champ Select, how it felt like the combi from Unicorns of Love, if they ever fell behind, it was so hard for them to really deal damage. How could they properly engage in against the Janna as well from Rocket? And we saw these last few team fights where Unicorns had flashes ready. They could go in, but whenever they were on cooldown, they were just missing so many tools to get to Rocket. And they played around it, but really the key moment was just 20 minutes. After Unicorns had a fine start, created a few picks, punished Rocket for being out of position, it's them overextending Baron Dawn.
I'm going to step back even further, Defisher. You talked about the team compositions and how you weren't a massive fan for Cassiopeia. It was locked in as a last pick to highlight really how difficult it was for Power of Evil to position. He dealt less damage than Kikis' Gragas that game.
That's the thing. It's so hard on a low-range champion who needs to sit there and spam away, and you're so squishy against Chain of Corruption from Varus. The poke he can land as well. The mobility the Sivir provides to the team. How this echo goes as well. You always got to look for it, man, because if you go too close, he just pops back and he one-shots you. We saw Steve time and time again jump the backline of Unicorns, and on an echo, once you get that Lich Bane, they die.
Talking about Steve, he's a guy that came into the LCS with a bit of expectation on playing carries. Very first game, the Smite TP Hecarim didn't work out because of a successful counterplay from his opponents. But he's looked very good on this Echo. Jankos has ganked for him, has helped him out, and every time there was pressure in the lane, Steve was pushing a side lane.
Sure.
It felt like Rocket were using their team composition very effectively. Their shot calling was improved. Let's also be fair, it was against two teams who have been struggling, Copenhagen Wolves and the Unicorns of Love. But you could hear how down Jankos was in that feature about the situation. And sometimes these confidence-boosting wins in an area of the pack that is so contested, like the bottom 7 in Europe, these could be absolutely instrumental in securing a top 6.
Yeah, every single win really counts. Also, we have to remember potential tiebreakers. We are in Europe after all. We tend to have quite a lot of them. And then it's super important. You either 1-1 or 2-0 against these teams that you cannot afford. Even it out, and then on the last day you realize you lost the tiebreaker, and then you drop out of top 6. But yeah, for all the teams here, outside of Origin, H2K, Fnatic, it's a fight to make top 6, and of course to avoid the relegation zone. Number 7, that's a safe spot. Other ones, either auto-relegation or down to play promotion tournament after the split.
So we'll see whether or not the teams can make top 6. I want to take a look at the picks and bans really once again. We've spoken, I think, at length about Rocket. But for me, I really do think that Unicorns are not really on the same page. These double damage threats or double carry threats not working out for them. Yesterday was Syndra and Jinx. And it's just interesting to see.
It is, and it's what we talked about, how this comp was very, very strong if you look at the spring split. But then you also have to look at the fact that Cassiopeia has been nerfed a little bit recently. Jinx has been nerfed a little bit recently. So these carries that used to play so well have been nerfed, and also the double threat compositions are not as strong in the current meta because there's so many carry top laners. It's so hard to pull it off properly, and it's just not working for them with Chachi on tanks all the time.
So it's definitely not. Unicorns will have to figure out what to fix if they want to make a shot at getting into the top 6. But for a closer look at Rocket's second win and their first perfect week in summer, let's head over to the analyst desk.
Thanks so much, guys. We are joined here by both Vander and Jankos. As said, your very first 2-0 week this split. And Jankos, of course, we saw the quite emotional feature from you coming out before this game. What does it mean to you to have that perfect week?
I mean, so after we changed few players, I really believed in the lineup, and this is the first week that we have been like 2-0 from the last split event, I think. So yeah, I'm super happy about it. Like it's like so different, you know, because usually like we were 1-1 and that was the best case scenario, and then we had this hard weeks where we have been ending up like 0-2 like last week against like not the best teams, right? But yeah, this week is super good for us.
Yeah,
I'm happy.
the game did start off pretty well for you guys because you got a first puck against your opponent, Kiki's there. Was that something you were looking at for the start of the game, or was that just because you noticed like all your lanes were pretty much pushing, but you skipped the blue buff, if I recall correctly? Was that something you did knowing that Kiki's going to take that same path, or was that just in the spur of the moment?
I mean, basically, Janna spotted him starting at blue buff, so I knew that he will try to gank top early on or mid. So basically, I just waited for him, and I saw him on red buff because of the tremor sense. So I just waited. He face checked the wrong brush, and he's dead.
Easy game, easy life.
Was that well? But outside from that first blood, though, the Unicorns of Love are putting a lot of pressure on you guys early. What do you think went wrong after that first blood, Fender?
So like we were pushing bot, but Jinx is kind of good against Sivir because due to the rockets and just Q, she can outpush easily. Then we tried to do something around top, but it didn't really work out. Like we had vision bot, so yeah, we tried to do something, but we couldn't really find the right place, I guess.
Yeah,
Lucky.
it took you guys a while, but then eventually you had that one fight that worked into your favor, and then yeah, we have the replay of that actually, so we can get that on your screen. And just that was the one opening you guys needed. You guys got 4 kills, a Baron buff, and a mid tower, and just tell us what happens. We can roll the clip right here immediately.
Yeah, so you can see that Echo is pushing bot, so he has TP pressure instead of the Maokai. We see Kiki is going too far, so we decided to engage on him. And when he failed the flash and everything kinda, just we had nice chase, right?
And we also see how balanced is eco right here.
Yeah, one shot.
Yeah, strong champion. So we saw Steve on that Echo. So that was more of a split push champion right now, as he continues to do a whole lot of damage there.
So we got 4 kills and then we just went to Nashor. Yeah.
We kinda knew we can chase them, so it was pretty easy. We found the opening and we just went for it, and it worked class.
Do you think? Did you guys pick Steve on Echo because it seems so far to me at least that split push seems good against UOL, or is that just a style that you guys like playing as well?
I mean, we played last week like Fizz, for example. They banned this game, so we tried to split push with Steve lately, and we just tried to get him ahead a bit, split push with him. So Echo works for this, and it's just a really strong champion overall.
Yeah, and well, just talking about Steve's performance in general, in the beginning, of course, he was getting camped a lot and maybe having a pretty hard time. How have you guys kind of worked with him? Because he seems to be exuding a whole lot of confidence, as we see Yamato there talking to Steve as well.
Well, I guess we just tried to play some duo queue with Steve lately to like make our synergy better, and we just try to 2v2 people, and it's so easy.
Well, it certainly seems to be going better as well for him. Vander, we were talking a bit or looking a bit at your stats, and you are the most impressive warder in the league, almost when it comes to supports. But Crepo was wondering,
vision is important.
Yeah, vision is important, but actively warding, but maybe can you sometimes overward and not do it efficient enough? Or how do you think, or why do you think it is that you're so high in the stats?
I mean, kind of in every game I feel we played, like I was the first support to base, and then deep ward enemy side of the map I'm at, so it's good, I think. So like early game, you just base faster and try to deep ward enemy side. If you manage to do it, you can like continually doing it, because if you see enemy jungler is not there, then he's probably on the other side of the jungle, so like you can refresh those wards then, right?
Yeah, that is actually true, because Vander is the support with the earliest side stone in the whole league. on average. My stats guy just whispered in my ear. So definitely, yeah, vision works.
A little bit of help in your ear there. The final question for you guys. Obviously, it's the $1 million question because I don't want to put you guys on the spot to say where you will end up, but where do you rank yourself as a team right now?
Well, above UOL, I guess.
I think it's a hard question. We had some pretty good games against Fnatic, against UOL before, against Origin. Then we had like pretty bad games against SK and Elements. Like this last week we were kind of lost, I feel. But then we like fought through everything we did wrong, like picks and bans. And for this week we prepared much better. We had better ideas. So I think it's a lot comes down like week to week, except Fnatic because they always win.
Well, that's definitely the trend here in the European LCS, though. 2-0 for you guys. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Fantastic to see you guys. Well, doing so well in this week, and we need to take a quick break, but when we return, the Copenhagen Wolves will take on Origin. The European LCS continues right after this.
Always again, let's go party.
Let's go.
You don't know other songs.
Come on,
not
Barbie,
Eye of the
let's go.
Tiger, not Barbie. Let's go party.
Oh, yeah.
And then you are in my check.
Some point in my life, I knew this song. Most of it.
Steve is going to phase dive onto Power of Evil. One of the damage threats is down, and now Bardax is left without any peel or protection.
I don't see Gragas.
I'm tipping behind.
Kill Gragas.
Tipping behind.
Yeah. Just flash.
I will catch Jinx.
Yeah, go Jinx.
I kill her.
Oh, Varus. I help. Is that?
Okay, echo.
Nice. I'm stunned for now.
5 combo.
Okay, coming for X.
IQ.
It's up.
Steve dives onto Power of Evil. Power of Evil had his flash but needed to run away. That petrifying gaze still not used. ROC will pick up their first undefeated week in summer